greenattic.com or get an instant roofing quote at greenatticroofing.com. That's greenattic.com and greenatticroofing.com.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello. Wow. Another stunningly beautiful day in Chicago. I hope that you had the opportunity to get outside and enjoy the sunshine, the light breeze. I went for a little walk before the show. On days like this, my son Declan, who has a therapy tricycle in order to help build his strength back after losing the ability to walk a couple of years, we go on walks, and today was probably one of my favorites. Just enough sunshine, just enough of a breeze, just warm enough, just cool enough. You know what I mean? I feel like Goldilocks. This hot day is too hot. This day was too rainy. But today was just perfect. Hope that you are happy, healthy, and safe wherever you are today. We have a great show coming up today. We've got Heidi Stevens, as Joan mentioned, will be joining us. She has a column, her most recent column about Trump's latest threat. Voting threat was inevitable in his next step, considering his long history of undermining the electorate system. And she goes on to talk about the conspiracies, the birtherism, the, saying that basically along the way that if he lost an election, it was rigged, and stirring all these just these conspiracy believers, the cult, into storming the Capitol on January 6th and then pardoning them, and then also demanding the votes from Georgia. At any rate, check out her piece on ChicagoTribune.com, and we'll talk about some other topics as well. We're also going to talk to Nathan Taylor. Speaking of rigging elections, Nathan Taylor of the Election Truth Alliance has more information for us about the North Carolina and the lawsuit that they are filing, and they're going to talk to us about the presidential election manipulation. And I think that we've been hung up on that, not wanting to say that something fishy here, especially if you look at some of the results in different races around the country where Kamala Harris got like 0 votes, but another Democratic candidate would get, a Democrat would get, tens of thousands of votes and win their race. So we'll talk to him about that. And then coming up at 6:30, we'll talk to Jen Golbeck. She's a professor, psychologist, and an expert in the far right online extremism. We talked to her a few weeks ago, and we talked about 4chan and QAnon and a lot of what led us to this madness. And I've been thinking about this the last couple of days. I meant to mention it yesterday because I've been watching this series of Netflix documentaries that there's just a 1-hour documentary on one topic. I've told you in the past, I believe, about the I don't know if I want to tell you guys because it is gross, but I did watch a documentary. The first one that I picked up on the series was called Poop Cruise, where this one of these cruise lines, I can't remember which line it was, but they had a fire. It destroyed all the ability to have power throughout the ship, and they weren't able to flush toilets, and it was horrific. Anyway, that one, I was like, all right, let's see what else I got. And they have a documentary about the scandals in the American Apparel, the company American Apparel, which I didn't know much about. I watched the one on Woodstock 99. I actually am not quite finished with that one yet. But they also did the mayor of Toronto. If you guys remember this, Mayor Ford. And I forgot this story. I think because Trump has been consuming all the friggin' oxygen on the planet, it has sort of skewed, I think, for us who are engaged and empathetic, who fight for rights, who are on the left, essentially, who are progressives, who are liberals. We've been focused on how to not just push back, but now we're going to have to claw back so much of what has been destroyed in this administration already just in the last 7 months. But Rob Ford was, if you think back now, if you remember, because it was on a lot of our late night shows, this was the guy who was the stories started coming out. He was sort of this firebrand in City Hall. He was an alderman, and he'd get up and start yelling, and he ran for mayor. And his brother was big on his campaign, and he had his circle, his posse, and there was a story coming out that he was caught on tape smoking a crack pipe. Do you remember this, Lady B? I think I have your. Can you use a microphone? I don't know if we can. But I totally, this story was completely something that I forgot. Let me see if I pulled. Oh no, you know what? It doesn't say. I thought I had it. Hold on, I'm gonna try again. But it's T program B, right? It's oh no, I keep doing this wrong. I'm gonna get it. This guy was the story was circulating that he was caught on tape smoking a crack pipe. And they have interviews that you can see where all of his followers, his fans, his own little cult really, who are like, the left just wanted to destroy the mayor. They just want to destroy him. Let's see if I got you. Let me see.
Hello.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing hydrated.
Yeah,
Staying
please.
hydrated.
I forgot my hydration in here. Do you remember this story at all?
No.
Right? Like it fell out of my head. He was a rather portly dude. He was so loud, so outrageous, and he did win. He became mayor.
Okay.
And during his term as mayor, the story was going around that there was a tape of him smoking a crack pipe, and his followers were like, "This is manufactured. This is the fake media." Like this, and this is 2013, so it predates Donald Trump saying these things. I'm like, did he see this guy win and be able to hold on to office? So the police department has a press conference and they say, we actually have footage. And it goes on from there. I mean, they have videos of him like with drug dealers, with guys who were dealing guns and all. I mean, but his fan base was convinced that it was all manufactured, that it wasn't real. And then when he finally admitted to it, and they removed his powers. They didn't remove him from office, but they made it impossible for him to do anything. Right. And then he said, well, I'm just going to run for re-election. They were going to have a special election. And he ran for the special election. And his fans were showing up for a guy who was on camera smoking a... They were like, well, he's an addict. He's dealing with it now. It's all... Yeah. And then while he was running, he gets diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer.
Oh, wow.
And he has to go into treatment. His brother continues the campaign and comes close to winning. What? So I was watching this. I'm like, but it was that voting base that was so convinced that it was the left making this up, that they were making him, he was a target. And I was like, oh my, this is 2013 and 14, before Trump comes down the escalator.
See that, but that's because he kept repeating the lies and people believe it. And that's what Trump is doing.
Yes.
And people are believing it.
They are. Yep. And it's amazing to me, the talking points. And I really do want to know because I know we have some real life MAGA that listen to the show. They hate listen. And because I'll see some of the things, like one guy calls us like hacks and things like that, and then uses really nasty language. Then also comes after my family personally, alluded to, Declan being in danger kind of a thing. And so, but I want to know, because some of the things that he says are repetitive of what we see online. And I saw there was a commenter yesterday. All it said was, and this comes up a lot, the left can't meme, right? And that, like, it's out there all the time. So what I do often is you can go to someone's timeline, and some people leave their stuff public and some people protect their privacy, which is fair. Right. And if you don't want someone to go to your timeline, if you're going to, go try to be a bully, well, we're going to come, I will go and blast you. I'll put you on blast publicly. So I went to his timeline, and his photo says generated photo. I swear to you. So I put that under his comment. I'm like, what is a generated photo? Right. And it's the only photo of himself on his timeline. So it's a bot that didn't even bother to cover its tracks. Right. And I said, come on now, you can try harder and be a human boy. Let's do this. So anyway, so watching this story about Rob Ford, if you guys, it's a pretty quick watch, and you will, it'll trigger some memories, and you can go down memory lane a little bit. Let me before we take some phone calls, which we'll do right after this break. I want to make sure that we thank our sponsors for these conversations. I'm so grateful to our sponsors. I'm grateful to our Democrats here in Illinois and across the country who are really fighting the good fight. The speeches yesterday in reaction to Donald Trump threatening to send military personnel to occupy Chicago. By the way, in D.C., if you get a chance, Lady B, look this up. Trump is having the military pick up garbage. They're walking around with garbage bags and like yellow vests or orange vests and picking up trash. They're basically the opening scene of Stripes when they arrive at the military base of the newbies having to pick up trash on the grass. And so that's what they're doing to our men and women in uniform in D.C. as they occupy. Although I haven't seen too many women who are part of these, part of the military presence there. But at any rate, I'm grateful for all the energy and the eloquence, the earnestness, the outrage that all of our electeds, in particular Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson. It does seem as though the president, it seems as though Donnie is sort of tamping down, at least backing off a little bit. But it remains that the National Guard is prepared to send military personnel to 19 cities across the country. I haven't got the whole list. I will look that up during the break, actually. Oh, Roosevelt texted in. Roosevelt says Mexico's MTG wannabe. Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Mexican senator warns cartel have infested her nation. Oh, I see. She's a Marjorie Taylor Greene wannabe. Oh, so and that's the thing is using that. This is what they say is like infested, or have taken over. This is often the language of people who want to scare residents. Oh, here's 815 says, Patty, the intro song always brings a smile. Oh, thank you, 815. That's I'm going to ask Steve Goody if he would consider updating our song because, of course, now we're in the second administration, and he has just returned from Edinburgh where he performed. So you can go to stevegoody.com and learn more about his great work. That's GOODIE.com. And we perform every Monday in the Virtual Comedy Show, which is available at virtualcomedyshow.com. You can check out some of those. I do a segment called either the Patty Melt or Is Patty Crazy? And both things can sometimes be true. Let's see. We have, Raina says the Ford guy looks like Chris Farley. Yes, that's a great way to say that. He did look like Chris Farley. And anyway, thank you for your messages, everybody. 773-763-9278 is a Credo mobile. Let's see, humiliating the military, way to get them on your side. Exactly. He's humiliating the military. There's photos and videos of our military picking up garbage. Oh, let's get back to saying thank you to our sponsors. So without our sponsors, we aren't able to have these conversations. So thank you to Minocqua Brewing Company. You can go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. Definitely follow his story on Instagram. Kirk has defeated the criminal libel suit against him. And my guess is he'll be gearing up to swing back. But you can go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, order some woke coffee, maybe some progressive brews, definitely some great swag. And I think you'll get a kick out of a lot of the T-shirts and beer cozies that he has. Is it cozies or koozies? I never know what those are called. But at any rate, he has a bunch of them. And you can visit the Madison Tap Room as well. But follow him on Facebook to stay up on all of his stories. Plus, subscribe to the Substack. If you purchase some woke coffee today or tomorrow, that's Monday through Wednesday, you support the work that I do. And if you order some Nope Seltzer, you support the work that Ben Cominos does. We are both columnists for his newsletter. I also want to thank our friends at Source Solar. Go to source.solar and learn more about the work that they do. There are incentives that are expiring at the end of this year, and you want to make sure that you make an appointment and talk to Peter Sorellis and see if it's time to have solar panels on your house or business and take advantage of those incentives. I also want to thank our friends at Pride Coffee. Pride Coffee Roasters focuses on single origins that are perfectly balanced. Try their single origin organic beans from Chiapas, Mexico. I think I just saw the new one from Mexico, which is also freaking fantastic. But they all have like these incredible tastes. Like their Dominican Republic has natural notes that give you, I'm not kidding you, blueberry muffin. I got to bring that in for you. Do you have preference for like you want a coffee sort of? You want the blueberry muffin? I'll get you I'll bring you a bag. I got something for you.
Okay. Good.
I'll bring you some. But at any rate, go to pridecoffeeroasters.com and for a limited time, you can get 10% off your entire order. Again, that's pridecoffeeroasters.com type in Drive Home 10. We also want to thank our friends at Kids Above All. Go to kidsaboveall.org and support their mission to help children. More in a moment on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150. We're so happy you're here.
The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays at 1 p.m.
We don't expect the Trump administration and their body-armored thugs to come with warrants and unmasked and carrying identification and acting with the dignity of a government that pursues justice. We expect what we've seen everywhere, brute force, coercion, and the destruction of trust. We will not bring violence. Neither will we shrink from violence brought to us.
The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays at 1 p.m.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. In the 1830s in Lowell, Massachusetts, during the rise of the textile industry, factories were hiring large groups of women ranging in ages 18 to 35 to work at their mills. The workdays were 13 hours long and had poor working conditions. By 1834, the textile market was sluggish. In response, the workers' wages were reduced by 12.5%. One of the workers, Julia Wilson, tried to organize the women to get their wages back, only to be terminated abruptly. Wilson signaled the women to strike or turn out. Over 800 women marched and signed a petition saying we will not go back into the mills to work unless our wages are continued. Ultimately, the strike failed, but they learned from their mistake and successfully battled back a rent increase on their boarding houses 2 years later. By January 1845, about a dozen of the Lowell female textile workers came together to form the Lowell Female Labor Reform Association. This would become the first organized union of women workers in American history. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We're working for your rights.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
You know, I do think I'm going to come up with a shirt or something that says, what's your scroll story? So my scroll, meaning when you scroll through what did you learn today? And I learned that this happened on Fox News. I think it was last month. Let me see if I can get this to play. Oh, I don't think I can. No, I'll figure it out. Because it doesn't say Adobe. Oh, it's this one. Hold on. I can get it. Wait, everybody. If you could all stand still and let's see if that works.
This is why the criticism doesn't matter to us. When you call us Nazis, see this, not see that. You know, I'm beginning to think they don't like us. You know what? I've said this before. We need to learn from the blacks.
Oh, my God.
The way they were able to remove the power from the N-word by using it. So from now on, it's what up, my
They did this.
Hey, what up, my
my God.
Hey, what's hanging, my
Why are they bleeping? I don't.
Please.
This is why the criticism doesn't matter.
On Fox News. They said, well, yeah, go ahead, call me in. Yeah, we're gonna what? Yep. Is it?
Oh no! Oh, wait a minute. Let me turn that off so I can bleep.
She did. Oh, I'll turn it off I'll double turn. Lady B is cussing up a store behind the glass. That happened. I can never remember that guy's name. Anyway, let me get to Jim in Chicago. Hey, Jim, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hi, Patty. Beautiful weather. That's all I can say. I was looking forward to this. Just my kind of weather. 70 degrees, right in the nose is perfect for me. But, yeah, it's just gorgeous for me. I can actually live a little bit now. Anyway, I was just thinking about the Republican information machine. It's like an industry. Like you mentioned before, you've got all these religious stations that are all Democratic. And Paul from Seattle had it right. And he goes, he's right. The Heritage Foundation bankrolled a lot of these preachers to go Republican. They'd go anyway if you gave enough money to do it. They'd say, be a moon man. But the point is, what kills me is how. Now, I voted Democrat all my life, but I can criticize a Democrat or criticize the theory of what their philosophy or whatever their
right.
I could criticize it with impunity because I've always felt that we were moving in the direction of a better world, where like your doctor that comes on your guest host, medicine for all. And mental health for all, and a good wage for everybody. It's Labor Day coming up. I mean, those are the things that I vote for. But I've never been a big fan of anybody's. I mean, I never, walk around with a flag of Jimmy Carter, or I like Jimmy Carter.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like Clinton. I thought Clinton was very bright. He came from a kind of a family life where he could have gone either way, or even Obama. Look at his. I mean, he was. I
do have a magnet. I still have a magnet in my refrigerator, by the way. So I do have an Obama-Biden magnet. I agree with you. Yeah, I was excited. Excited.
Yeah, but I can be critical. They had no problem with that.
No, these guys can't criticize. I agree.
But when you hear these Republican stations and so on and so forth, they cannot, for a moment, criticize any Republican. They think it's death. They think that they don't win. If they don't have one-party rule in the United States, they won't be happy.
Jim, you're gonna make me institute this, Jim. Hold on a second. I gotta do a speed round because I'm not gonna be able to take calls until like 6:20. All right, Jim. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, Patty. I'm sorry, Patty. Thank you.
Now you feel bad for everybody else on hold. You've got about 40 seconds, Roosevelt. How you doing? Oh no.
Thank you for taking my call, my friend. I want to keep on the theme that you got going there with Mexico. For the past 2-3 days, there's a senator in Mexico. Her name is Lili Tellez, just like Roseanne. Remember Roseanne Tellez from Channel 9, then Channel 2? Same last name. So what they're cooking up down there in Mexico is the Republican Conservative Party. And they got a mole. They got somebody like her trying to stir up stuff. And on this side of the border, in the United States, Fox News interviewed her. Now, why would you think that Fox News interviewed her?
Right.
Because they want a Trump-like president in Mexico. There's a big movement down there to take that lady out. Claudia Sheinbaum, the Mexican president, one, because she's a woman, and two, because her and her predecessor have flown miles ahead of the United States because, they reformed everything. Elderly people over 65 are getting a Social Security for the first time in I don't know how many years.
Thank you, Roosevelt.
Doors closing. Thank you.
Let's get to Dave in Hoffman Estates. Hey, Dave, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, Patty, I was telling Lady B that did you see the story where Trump and Pete Hegseth are planning to rename the Department of Defense to the Department of War?
Yup. Of course they are. Yeah. Yeah, we're not on defense. We're at war. That's what they I'm sorry, that's what stop. You go.
He said that defense name didn't sound good to him, so Trump they'd like to change it to that, saying that, he wants offense too. We want defense, but we want offense too. So, but they're not sure if the executive branch can make such a move without congressional permission. Well, he's just got to, hold his breath and stamp his feet, and he'll get it. But that Ford guy you were talking about, wasn't he Canadian?
That's what I was saying. The mayor of Toronto. Yep.
Okay, I didn't catch all of it.
Yeah, check it out. It's on Netflix. It's pretty funny. I mean, it's crazy though. Go ahead.
And I remember Marion Barry. He kind of he did it. And he got reelected in that. But
people are wild. Let me run to the next call, Dave.
Right.
Thank you. Take care. Bye. Hold on. I forgot to do that. Go ahead. Hey, Chi-Town Dave.
Closing.
What's on your mind, my friend? Hey, Dave. Chi-Town Dave? Oh, no. Chi-Town Dave got off at the last stop. Hey, Paul, doors are open. What's on your mind, my friend?
I can't keep up with the dings here. I don't know what stop this is anyway.
You might be the final stop. I'll go back and see if Chi-Town Dave is still on the platform. What's on your mind? What happened? Hello? It wasn't me. Oh, no. We didn't lose phones, did we? Hey, Paul. Hold on. Hey, Chi-Town Dave? Hello?
Hey, is it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Am I on?
Yes, go ahead. You're with Patty. Go. You've got about 20 seconds. What's on your mind?
Okay. I want to ask Republicans, why do you hate African Americans so much?
I wonder, I think it's anger at the guilt.
What do you mean?
They don't like being reminded that white people had a 400-year start in this country.
I know they hate listening. I know they hate listening to the station, and I want to ask them. And you can respond, Republicans. You can respond to me if you care to. Respond to me through
my text screens. Sure.
Through the Patty Show.
Sure.
Respond to me.
Respond to Dave. All right, Dave. Is that
I want to say hello to my buddy Paul.
Excellent. There you go. Well, I have to close the doors. Thanks so much, my friends. And Paul, I will be. I'll have the phone lines open in just a little bit. You can call back.
To Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
We'll have Heidi Stevens on in just a moment on WCPT and 1150 KKNW. Hey, Paul.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Clear skies tonight with a low temperature of 58 degrees and light southwest winds. On Wednesday, we'll see lots of sun with a high temperature of 76 and southwest winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Thursday, chance of thunderstorms with a high temperature of 74 degrees. Friday, sunny with a high temperature of 68. Saturday, sunshine, high temperature of 71. And for Sunday, lots of sun with a high of 74. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 72.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. Out Chicago.
The media has been manipulated with propaganda and fear, and this is what has brought us where we are today. More than ever, people are looking at just one news source, and that's
what they're doing, they're looking at their
phones.
phone.
Well, that's their source.
They are looking
that's their
at
source.
Yeah, I know. They're looking at their phone. They're hearing opinion. They're hearing misinformation. They're not looking at sources.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820.
Chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more, can make me feel like a spectator in my own life.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It's the #1 prescribed branded chronic migraine preventive treatment.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversity Beer, Wine, and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine, and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to welcome to the show columnist Heidi Stevens. Hey, Heidi, are you hydrating today?
Hi, Patty. I am hydrating, in part because I anticipate that question now, and I know I'm coming on your show. I'm like, Patty's going to be so mad at me if I'm not hydrating.
May I also recommend electrolyte packets? Sometimes I use Element, and it's got a saltiness, citrus to it, so it tastes like I'm having a margarita when I'm hydrating.
Oh, I like this.
I'm just saying. Heidi, of course, is a columnist for the Tribune. She's the director of external affairs for TMW Center and fellowship coach at the OpEd Project. And she, like me, absolutely love our city. And so I have to ask you this first. I wrote a piece. I write for Monaco Brewing Company, and I was volunteering at a market over the weekend, and I was kind of caught off guard by how just the goosebumps I got thinking of the military being in our city while I was watching kids play on our playgrounds. Are you going through these emotions of imagining military vehicles rolling through our streets?
Patty, 1,000% I am. I'm so glad that we're starting with this. First of all, where was the event?
Jefferson Park. Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking about yesterday's event?
Yeah, where you were.
Oh, where I was? I do the Jefferson Park Sunday Market it's at Lawrence and Long, right by the post office.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I had one of those work days where, like, I looked at my watch at 5 o'clock and realized I had taken, like, 4 steps all day. So I was like, let me go for a walk before I hop on the radio with Patty. And, I walked along the lakefront. I live in the South Loop, so I'm pretty close to the lake. I ran into a friend who was trading sourdough bread with her mom, who lives nearby. I listened to a woman singing Lauryn Hill sitting under a tree, like, looking at the lake. I watched, like, every language, color, I'm guessing religion, like, walk by me in, like, joy or thoughtfulness or pensiveness or whatever they're going through, and just thought, like, God, what a beautiful place where it's humanity, right? It's messy. There are pockets that are violent. We have flaws. Of course we do. We're also working on them. I don't think militarizing the streets is the answer. I also don't think it is being presented by Trump and his administration as an answer, in large part because of what Pritzker said yesterday, which is like, nobody's called me, right? Like, nobody's called the mayor, nobody's called the governor. This is not in collaboration with. This is an attack on. And so it gives me chills to think about, troops rolling in here. It gives me chills for the troops. I don't think that it feels probably like what they aligned with what their mission is either, to come in and start patrolling streets against the will of the people. It's all a mess. It's a mess. The Tribune did a really smart story today. I was just reading it before we hopped on the phone. I guess it was a press conference earlier today, organized by One Aim, Illinois. Yeah. Have you been? I'm
a board member. So I didn't.
Oh my gosh.
But I didn't. Oh, okay. Yeah. So for folks who don't know, we had survivors of gun violence. We're advocates for ending gun violence. We work with leaders in Springfield to bring about legislation, whether it's we're trying to get fingerprint locks put in or domestic violence legislation. Anyway, that's kind of work we do. So go ahead and tell folks. I didn't get a chance to watch our own press conference because I was working.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, and I'm so glad to hear that you're on the board. You'll know way more about this than I do, but it sounds like they organized a press conference with gun violence survivors to talk about how it felt to them to have National Guard troops deployed to Chicago. And, they were not in favor of it. And this one quote said, bringing the National Guard to Chicago is not a solution, it's an attack. And it sends the message that Black communities are problems to be controlled rather than people who need to be supported. And I feel like that says it all, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Like and Black communities especially, but the entire city. It's not a problem to be controlled. We're people. We're people who are, living with the results of disinvestment, with the results of school closures, with the results of gun violence prevention tactics not being, financed, with the results of mental health supports being defunded, like all sorts of things that happen to communities across America. What's not a solution is sending in troops.
No. I mean, making sure that the children who are going to bed hungry or who are hiding from gunfire, as you mentioned, like in their communities where they've been choked off from resources, whether it's mental health services, after school programs, economic development. And my thing is, and I grew up on the northwest side of Chicago, and I have always felt like this whole city was our city, that they are our neighbors, regardless of what neighborhood they're in. And there's so many people in the city who do want Trump to come here, and whenever they see the news stories about gun violence, they assume it's on the south or west side or the southwest side. I know there are people who would rather put up walls around those communities and pretend that they don't exist. This is all of our city. Anyway, it makes me crazy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, and to those people who are saying, please send troops here, I would say it can't possibly be out of goodwill and out of, genuine desire to help when you're not in collaboration with or even in contact with the leaders of the city and the state, right? I mean, it feels more like an invasion.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems as though he has quieted down about Chicago, but we know that the military is still, keeping those plans rolling and ready to deploy a military presence to 19 cities. But did you see today that he has these military members in D.C. picking up garbage? That's what they're tasked with today.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one way to win over your men and women in uniform, is to humiliate them. Well, and to your column about, we can't be surprised at his ruse to control the votes, right? Talk a little bit about the piece that you've written.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be surprised by anything he's doing, I think, because he really did spell all of this out and, Project 2025 and other places. But this latest thing that he sent on Truth, it's not the latest thing he sent on Truth Social, but the thing he sent last week on Truth Social about, wanting to sign an executive order banning mail-in voting and voting machines felt like, sadly, kind of an inevitable move on his part. He's been so quick to undermine confidence in, use of the American electoral system. I feel like since the birther days, right? I mean, even questioning the legitimacy of Barack Obama before he was president, and he did the same thing with Hillary, did the same thing with Kamala. To undermine confidence in a leading candidate is a way of chipping away at our confidence in our voting system. To claim that the election was rigged when he didn't win it, to call Georgia and tell him to find votes. Like, there's multiple ways that he's been trying to disenfranchise us, call the elections rigged. Straight up rig them. I think a recorded call to Georgia saying to find votes is, as close as you can get to rigging. So we saw this coming, and now it's here. Here he is saying, I'm going to get rid of mail-in voting. I'm going to get rid of voting machines. If we don't have our right to vote, I don't know what other right is more fundamental to democracy, right?
Yeah, we have regular guest of Jones' show is Professor Joel Ostro, and yesterday he was saying like everything is failing. The courts aren't going to be enough. Saying that we're going to, and having a speech isn't enough. He was talking about how we need a general strike. We need people in the streets, and I don't. And I part of me wonders in some way whether, we're just waiting for it to get as bad as it possibly can in order for that to happen, but will it be too late when we go, oh, well, now we got to get out there? It's I don't know. I can't describe the energy that we're in right now.
I know. It's really hard to know. And he's talking about doing this mail-in voting and voting machine ban ahead of the midterms. So it feels to me like the energy he's feeling is, we might be in trouble for the midterms, let alone, when he's trying to run for re-election or whatever, whether even thinks there'll be an election by then, or if he's just hoping to have, gotten rid of that system altogether. So I don't know, maybe there's a nervous energy there. It's hard for me to, and I'm a little bit relieved that it's hard for me to get my head inside his headspace or folks who support him. I just can't quite understand how that thinking works.
Yeah.
But yeah, thankfully, I guess. Stop having me on your show when I'm like, oh no, I kind of see where he was coming from.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we need. I mean, mass demonstrations feel certainly appropriate. Is it enough? I don't know. I think it probably needs to be a multi-pronged approach to pushing back on all of this, right? I think what he's hoping for is to just confuse us and disenfranchise us with, like, death by 1,000 cuts. Like, let me mess up universities, let me mess up healthcare, let me mess up immigration, let me mess up, like, and so you get so sort of like overwhelmed and fatigued that you just throw your hands up and say, like, none of it works, and stop pushing back. That can't happen.
No, I agree completely. We were hanging out with Heidi Stevens. She's a columnist for the Chicago Tribune. You can go to chicagotribune.com and find her latest pieces. We'll talk about one of them when we come back, because I have a, rising senior in college, so we can talk a little bit about what the next couple of years will feel. What year? Well, we'll talk about that when we come back, because I have at least a little bit to share about my experiences. Again, Heidi Stevens, you can find her work at chicagotribune.com, and we'll be back with her on WCPT 820 at Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
We don't talk about it nearly enough, but mobility is one of the major keys to longevity. I recently devoted a whole episode of my podcast to this topic called Chasing Life. My guest was Dr. Kelly Starrett. He's a physical therapist and former professional athlete. He wrote a book called Built to Move, The 10 Essential Habits to Help You Move Freely and Live Fully. Now, Kelly told me it's a myth that your range of motion is destined to decrease as you get older. You can retain or even regain some of your mobility, he said, by working your body into different shapes and movements throughout the day, beyond just laying down, sitting, or walking. For example, just hang from a pull-up bar for a minute every day. Finally, don't neglect the basics, Kelly said. Healthy diet, quality sleep, that'll go a long way. Try sitting on the floor sometimes as well. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Save big during Labor Day at Lowe's. Get up to 40% off select major appliances. Plus, buy more to get up to an additional 20% off. Shop even more savings with 3 Stay Green 1 cubic foot vegetable and flower garden soil bags for $10. This Labor Day, take care of your home for less at Lowe's. We help, you save. Valid through 9/3. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location. Select locations only. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
No detours, no distractions. Just bold ideas and real talk.
This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you for joining us as we continue our conversation with Heidi Stevens, columnist for the Chicago Tribune. She's also director of external affairs at the TMW Center, fellowship coach at the OpEd Project, and has a new piece out about. I don't know how to empty nest. Not quite, though. I mean, I know that when they're in college, it is, and I don't know how far away have you sent your child?
So my oldest is in D.C. and I don't quite have an empty nest because I still have a high schooler. I did do college drop off this weekend in D.C., which we were just talking about. I did not see troops. Thankfully, she's at Georgetown, so she's a tiny bit removed from downtown.
Sure,
but yeah, drop off was over the weekend. That was our second year. She's her second year. of college. And you have a rising senior?
Yes. He's in Italy today, actually. He left on Friday for a 3-week study program. And I have been wanting him to do this. I've begged him to take advantage of the opportunities to travel because I did not. Because Heidi, I was dating a boy in college who told me he wouldn't wait for me if I went to Scotland to study like I wanted to. And I was stupid. I was like, he's so pretty. I'll stay for him. So, yeah. I know.
We live and learn.
Yeah, so fortunately, he's taking advantage of a 3-week program.
Good.
So I'm excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How do you feel with him gone?
I think I'm better than my husband and my mom. So we live with my mom in a 2-flat, and she was, and I had to talk. I mean, because she was, when I was in college, she was the one pushing me to go study abroad. I'm like, look, he's living the experience you wanted me to have. But she was very, it was very hard for her. I have a photo I haven't shared where she's just like so sad to see him go for 3 weeks because she's had him, here all summer at the house, and it's been nice. So
yeah,
and
I love that.
And that's what I wanted to tell you about. So like when because Griffin goes to U Chicago, so I have access to him. It's I go see his plays. He's in improv, and I go for lunch with him sometimes. But when he's but then there'll be like a couple months go by and I haven't seen him, and he'll call and say he's coming home, and I'll tell you, like, I start cleaning the house, like oh my God, he's coming home. He's coming.
I need all our favorite groceries in the fridge.
Yes.
Totally. Totally. Prodigal son, prodigal daughter.
Yep.
I know. It's funny. Everything you say resonates so much. I was having a text exchange with 2 girlfriends over the weekend, one whose daughter is studying abroad and another daughter who's my daughter's age, college out of state, big, making their world big and brave and beautiful.
Yeah.
And the 3 of us were kind of / lamenting / like bragging that like our daughters are doing it so different than we did, that at their age we were kind of keeping our world small, and in part because the boys are all the things just like you said, and they're not. They're like going to just set the world on fire, and it makes us feel so proud and excited and gratified, and especially in this moment, I think, because it would be tempting to sort of keep your world small, and they're not, and it's just so it's hard, right? It's hard to have them far, but it's so much better than having them feel timid or boxed in or not willing to go out and see what's out there. So but yeah, I miss her already. I just got home Sunday night, and I miss her.
And it is different, too, the parenting of a college student, too. I mean, because we're not responsible for, driving someone to practice or helping with, home after school projects or all the things that we were doing for 18 years from breastfeeding to group projects, which, by the way, I hated, and I'm so glad that's over. But oh, my God. But it's bizarre. It is and it's definitely a shift in how to talk to them too, because they've got their own opinions, their own path, and I sort of try to find that balance of being a guide rather than being judgmental or the way I talk to him and my tone.
Trying to be your kid's mentor rather than monitor.
Yes.
And I think that's probably, if you do it well, I think that's probably a better model the whole way through from the time they're teeny tiny, but especially once they're this age, right? Like, try to model, pretty good choices and behaviors for them rather than monitoring what they're doing. Because they're, by this age, they're not. It would be a fallacy to try to think you have any control over what they're doing, and deciding. But I think they do still look to us for some guidance, and I look to my daughter too. I mean, I have really, really enjoyed parenting teenagers, definitely more than I expected to, because everyone makes it sound like it's just like hell on earth, and probably more than any other chapter, I'll be honest. Like, they're so darn funny, and they're really, really smart and wise in ways that I don't remember being at their age, or else I just wasn't engaged with grown-ups in the way that they are. Like, they'll sit down and have really thoughtful takes on issues of the day, whatever they are. And I really, I find that so gratifying, so much more than when they were like, I mean, I loved every parenting chapter. I really did. It's been my favorite thing I've ever done, is to raise these little humans. But I don't know, there's something about teenagers and young adults that's just like, just so, it feels like such a privilege.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I agree. And I also think our kids, because of the environment that they've grown up with, including the pandemic, and Griffin was a sophomore, so it sort of hijacked. For me, that was my favorite sophomore, junior year. All that. Those are my favorite years of high school, and so and the way they socialized and the way they got information is really different. I think it aged them different than us.
They've been through a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they really have. I remember when we were at the beginning stages of COVID, early 2020, and I was working full time at the Tribune. I had a daily column, so 5 days a week I was trying to find something to write that would be illuminating, educational, something. And I was like, I really want to find someone who's lived through just a bunch of crap by now, who can sort of put a global pandemic in perspective for us. And I found a woman who was like, I think she was 108 years old. She had lived through, civil rights, polio, the Great Depression, like all of it. And I just wanted to hear, tell us what we should keep in mind right now while we live through this. And it was stunning, actually, to hear, her memories of, not going to school, having school on the radio, having, what she had lived through and endured, and both parents during the Depression living in other states because that's where they could find work. So she lived in, I think, something like 13 or 15 different people's houses by the time she was in high school. Just a number of things that, people who have lived through some stuff can look back on and give us perspective on. It made me feel, I guess, in a weird way, hopeful that some of what our kids are witnessing and enduring will give them maybe some kindness, humanity, perspective when it's their turn to kind of run things.
I agree. Before we let you go, because we were almost at the end of our segment, are you excited about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's engagement?
Oh, Patty, come on. We so needed that good news. I love them. I really do. I was talking to my son about this. I picked him up from school, and it was the first thing I said. And I'm like, you heard about the engagement. What I love so much about them as a couple is, they celebrate each other's stuff. She didn't shrink herself to fit into his world. He didn't shrink himself to fit into her world. They're both huge, giant stars, and they seem so genuinely excited about each other's success and enamored of each other's everything. And I just think what a cool model for our kids. I love them.
Heidi Stevens, a columnist for the Chicago Tribune. Find her work at chicagotribune.com and follow her on social media, Heidi Stevens. If you Google Heidi Stevens, she's the first one that comes up. She's the only one. I don't know who else comes up. It's Heidi Stevens. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Patty.
Take care. Let's take a break here, and we'll come back in just a moment on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-200-1966. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-200-1966 or biglou.com.
You've still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it hard to fight the flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. Local health officials say Israeli strikes killed at least 35 more Palestinians across Gaza today. Meantime, Ed Donahue reports the Israeli military is trying to explain its deadly strikes yesterday on a hospital in Khan Yunis.
Without providing evidence, the military says the focus was a Hamas surveillance camera used to observe Israeli forces. It appears to contradict the sequence of events at Nasser Hospital. 20 people were killed, including 5 journalists. A senior Hamas official tells the AP they were not operating a camera, and if they did, it could be neutralized without targeting a healthcare facility with a tank shell. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called it a tragic mishap. International law prohibits attacks on hospitals. Netanyahu, meantime, met with his security cabinet. He says it started in Gaza and it will end in Gaza. We will not leave these monsters there. We will release all our hostages. We will ensure that Gaza no longer poses a threat to Israel. I'm Ed Donahue.
Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook's lawyer says President Trump has no authority to fire her, and she's suing to prevent it. And Haya Panjwani reports the Trump administration plans to appeal after its lawsuit against Maryland's entire federal bench was thrown out.
U.S. District Judge Thomas Cullen called it potentially calamitous. The lawsuit addressed an order by the chief judge of the Maryland District Court that stopped the immediate deportation of migrants challenging their removals. Cullen was nominated by President Trump in 2020 and serves in Virginia. The judge criticizes the administration's attacks on the judiciary. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
The Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index has dipped again this month. Jobs, tariffs, and high prices driving most of the unease. On Wall Street, stocks pushed closer to record highs this afternoon. The S&P and the Nasdaq up about 0.4%. The Dow 135 points or 0.3. This is AP News. The most recognizable player in women's basketball is getting her own shoe. Gethin Coolbaugh has the story.
There's no higher expectation than what I have of myself.
Caitlin Clark is Nike's newest signature athlete, expanding the athletic wear company's partnership with the WNBA star. Nike has revealed a new logo of interlocking C's to represent the Indiana Fever player. Clark's first signature shoe and apparel collection will debut next year. Her logo collection will launch on October 1st. A t-shirt in the Fever's colors of yellow and navy blue will come out a month earlier. Clark has had a huge impact in women's basketball ratings and attendance over the last few years, including setting the NCAA all-time scoring record at Iowa. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Clark and the Indiana Fever are on the court tonight hosting the Seattle Storm. More news and the latest developments at apnews.com. I'm Ben Thomas. Thanks for listening.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Clear skies tonight with a low temperature of 58 degrees and light southwest winds. On Wednesday, we'll see lots of sun with a high temperature of 76 and southwest winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Thursday, chance of thunderstorms with a high temperature of 74 degrees. Friday, sunny with a high temperature of 68. Saturday, sunshine, high temperature of 71. And for Sunday, lots of sun with a high of 74. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 72.
If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Corey called to consolidate his debt and was so happy with my advice, he left me this 5-star Google review. Quote, I was looking to pay off debt, so I reached out to David after listening to his radio show. David called me personally and walked me through my options. He shot it straight. There was no beating around the bush or pushing me to sign anything. If any of my family or friends need anything related to a mortgage, I'll give them David's number because you can't get better or more honest service. Thanks, Corey. I strongly encourage everyone to check out our close to 600 5-star Google reviews from listeners like Corey. Team Hochberg helped Corey and thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, MLS 1124061.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses. She's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello, and thank you for joining us and our listeners in the evenings, wherever you are in the world. But we also have our friends in Seattle, Washington, listening on KKNW 1150, the alternative talk of Seattle, and KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minneapolis, or Minnesota in general. And, of course, we're here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. You can also watch the show live streaming on Facebook. If you miss any part of my show or Joan's show or Richard's show, we are also all podcasts on heartlandsignal.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, individual interviews are available. And all of those shows, episodes of mine, are made possible by our sponsors. Thank you to Source Solar. Go to source.solar, make a phone call to Peter Sorellis, and tell him you want to get some more information about solar panels on your house or business before the incentives expire at the end of this year for residents and for businesses in 2026. We also want to thank our friends at Minocqua Brewing Company. Go to minocquabrewingcompany.com. Definitely follow Kirk on Facebook because he's got some adventures to tell you about. And when you're on his website, you can order some progressive brew, maybe some fun progressive swag. And we also want to encourage you to subscribe to his Substack, where you'll find work by writers like myself and Ben Commodus and Kirk as well. We also want to thank our friends at Pride Coffee Roasters. Go to pridecoffeeroasters.com and learn about their incredible coffee. You travel the world with one of 11 different single origin, always freshly roasted for you by Patty and Jackie. For a limited time, head to their website and place an order with the coupon code DRIVEHOME10 to save 10% off your entire order. And visit our friends at kidsabovall.org and support their mission to help children live happy, healthy, safe lives. And in order to make sure all of that happens, we need to make sure we have free and fair elections. And joining me on the line is Nathan Taylor of the Election Truth Alliance. We want to talk about what's happening with their lawsuit in North Carolina. First of all, Nathan, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I need you to do me a favor. I tell all my guests and listeners, please make sure you're taking care of yourself. And one of those things you can do is make sure you're hydrating. Are you hydrating, Nathan?
I am very hydrated. Yes, thanks.
Excellent. First of all, let's catch people up on the work that you do. And for yourself personally, where are you from originally?
So I'm originally from the South. Spent a lot of time in Ohio and Tennessee areas, and I mean. It's interesting how, as we're doing the work that we're doing right now, we're looking at some of these states, the South, the North, and the ETA, the Election Truth Alliance, and our analysis of elections. As you said, we're looking at North Carolina as well.
Yeah, this is what. First of all, where did this organization come from? What was the sort of lightning rod that led you guys to create this organization?
Yeah, so currently the organization is composed of I think we're over 100 different volunteers, varying backgrounds from statistics, data analysts. We got a little bit of lawyers thrown in as well. And really, we came together just after the 2024 presidential election. We all had similar concerns about the math just not mathing, the numbers just not adding up around the outcome of the election versus what was going into the election. That's where we started digging. We started pulling data from the counties themselves across the U.S., and actually doing some statistical analysis that hasn't really been done in the U.S. before at this scale. We're seeing it the last time, or similar methods have been applied to European elections, such as Russian elections, but no one's been doing this in the U.S. yet. So this was kind of the first step for us, is saying, how can we look at our elections? How can we make sure that they are free and fair and that the math does add up? And if there's any problems, let's talk about it.
Man, and with the sort of inconsistencies, or as you mentioned, the math not mathing, when you talk about other places in the world, what kind of results are they able to get? Like, what are some of the findings in elections recently that they've been able to accomplish, or lawsuits in other places?
Yeah, so some of the more notable examples of concerns around elections just in the last couple of years is in 2024, the Georgian Dream Party, the country of Georgia, they had issues where one of the experts, his techniques we actually apply, Roman Udot, he went and he was looking at how that election turned out, and the party, the Georgian Dream Party, their results didn't really seem legitimate. So they investigated that. They found that there could have been ballot manipulation in that race, in that county, in that state. And that was just one example. And Romania was another example of similar concerns coming up recently. And as I said, we've taken these experts' work and how they look at elections, and we're just doing the same thing here in the U.S. for the 24 election.
And I think we spoke previously about how I don't know if it was North Carolina or New York, where there was, Trump won and essentially a Democrat on the ballot, farther down on the ballot, also won, and Kamala basically got 0 votes. Am I accurately describing that one?
Yeah. So what you're referencing is Rockland County, New York. And there is an active lawsuit there under smart elections or smart legislation, which is their action arm. And yes, what had happened, even though Harris won the county, there are precincts in that county where there are 0 votes for Harris. Now, that's not even the big problem. That could be explained by, some Hasidic communities in the area not voting in a block. But what's interesting, and this is what's going on with that lawsuit right now, is they found that third-party voters, there were more voters cast their votes for third parties, but they didn't show up in the digital reports. And they actually found these voters in some of these areas. They went, and they're a part of this lawsuit that's going on in Rockland County, New York right now. And just recently, they've started finding registration errors where there are votes being digitally cast for voters who are no longer alive. And this is just one of many things. The reason we talked about this last time, I think, and the reason we're highlighting it is we applied a statistical analysis, and smart legislation did as well to that county, and we found a huge difference from the presidential race to the down-ballot races, like the senator, where Harris is getting significantly less votes across the county at large. And this is the same problem we're seeing in New York, in North Carolina, in Pennsylvania, and Florida, Texas, and a few other places. And I think that's really where we'll talk about, what are we going to do about it, right? Our pending lawsuits, our litigation, that's really the next step from there.
Yeah, so tell us about this lawsuit in North Carolina, and what a lot of people, will ask and will want me to ask, and I don't know what if you're able to answer, is what can come of all this, I guess, is one of the big things. But first, start with the North Carolina lawsuit.
Yeah, so just an update. As of right now, we've not published a lawsuit for North Carolina. We've built legal cases across the U.S., and we haven't told people exactly which state we're filing this first lawsuit in. We're hoping to first lawsuit we were planning the end of this month. It's looking more like probably the beginning of this coming month in a few weeks. But yes, North Carolina, we just released a report about North Carolina where we found, and I'll summarize for you, we did the same statistical analysis as done in European elections, such as that Georgian Dream Party analysis for the country of Georgia, where they found concerns of election fraud. We did the same thing for North Carolina. We've done the same thing for Pennsylvania, and we have some other states in the works. And for example, in North Carolina, and we just published this, it's up on our website at electiontruealliance.org, is we found that first thing we talked about, where in Rockland County, New York, where that pending lawsuit is, and there's a huge difference between Harris and the down-ballot candidate. Same thing in North Carolina. For example, we looked at their superintendent race as one example, and Harris is receiving fewer than 122,000 less votes than the superintendent for her same party. But on the flip side, Trump received over 191,000 more votes than his superintendent. And we're seeing that pretty consistently down ballot all across North Carolina. And then we actually went and we looked at the precinct-level voting behavior. We pulled that from the county. That took a lot of work. We have some amazing volunteers that helped us do it. And we worked with an election expert. His name is Dr. Walter Mebane Jr., and he has an e-forensics model. He's been paid by USAID to do election forensics detection before. And his numbers and our numbers are flagging up to 197,000 anomalous votes in North Carolina. His is a little higher, but he has a confidence level as well of at least 100,000. So anywhere from almost 200,000 to 100,000 anomalous votes in North Carolina. And as we dug deeper, we are very concerned that this could be vote manipulation, taking votes from one candidate, giving to the other, or deleting them, or even adding in votes. And that's what our work has been highlighting, and that's what we're building our lawsuits on. North Carolina, currently, we are in the works of gathering plaintiffs there, but we don't have a legal filing plan just yet. But we do have a legal team and lawyers retained in a few other swing states that will be moving forward with litigation here in the near future. We're also building a case in Florida, and we have the same concerns in Florida. We've actually, and we're going to be releasing reports about this soon. I actually went to Florida, and we did some sleuthing on the ground. We did some door knocking on the ground, and we were finding discrepancies in active voters that cast votes in the 24 election, but may not actually live at these addresses, may not actually exist. And these are things we're starting to find all over the U.S.
Whoa. Okay, so that seems to be some of the forensic evidence that you can gather. What other kinds of, I mean, when you say that there were votes that were manipulated, what kind of trail is left behind in that regard?
Yeah, so sadly, well, luckily, federal law requires that you retain the physical ballot or the paper trail for our elections for 22 months. That's a short window in the grand scheme of things, but it's 2 years almost for us. So we still have, a little over a year or so. And so that is retained by the county. That is still there. That's something we hope to potentially be granted access to recount or audit in our actions going forward. But then there's other things as well. There are, county level reports. We found some counties will actually give you like a voter roll where you go and when you vote, it'll tell you who voted at what precincts, or at least when you checked in. That's super useful too, because here's what we're worried about. We are very worried about if the 24 election was manipulated, and that's what our findings in North Carolina, our findings in Pennsylvania, in Nevada, and potentially in Florida, they're pointing to a common concern, and that is that the U.S. is using, and this is where people seem to sometimes not realize this, is in the U.S., almost 100% of our ballots cast are counted by tabulation machines. Even if you hand-mark paper ballot, even if you mail in, even if you use a voting computer or voting machine, they're all counted by tabulation machines. And we are very worried. 70% of the U.S. uses the same type of machines all across the U.S., and we've started digging a little deeper, and we're worried that if you've compromised these tabulation machines, you could have manipulated votes in the 24 election, and these are the same machines that we're going to use in the midterms as well.
Yikes. And what kind of obstacles do you run into? Is there resistance from any of these precincts, from any of these election committees? I'm not sure what the names are of the different levels that you have to kind of approach and request or get subpoenas. I don't know. How does this work for gathering that information?
So the way it works is almost every real election is kind of being held at the county. Every county does their election, and then every state. So, yes, we've gone to multiple counties and places we're finding concerns. And we're finding our election laws pretty much don't allow these counties to do anything, even with everything we brought forward. Without a judge saying you will do this or you will open these ballot boxes, these counties have their hands tied. And so what we've done is we've actually been, prior to building our litigation, we've been petitioning the governors and the secretaries of multiple swing states to try and get them to launch these investigations with us and, try and get these audits and these recounts of ballots. And we found, and this is what's a little frustrating, we found that not only is there significant resistance to actually doing a simple investigation to verify did it happen or not, but it seems the Democrats are actually more aggressive about shutting these concerns down, which I find very interesting.
Let's take a break here because I want to know more about this. I have to hit a break right here. So can you hang out for another segment?
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. This is Nathan Taylor for the Election Truth Alliance. You can go to electiontruthalliance.org. We'll tease about why Democrats are trying to shut this down, because I have some thoughts, but I want to hear what Nathan's heard. More after this on WCPT 820, KKNW 1150, and KTNF AM 950.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. That's 800-708-3091.
Are you 40 years old in great health and want life insurance coverage with no exam and instant coverage options? Big Lou can do that. Are you 50 to 60 with health issues and still want life insurance coverage with no exam needed? Big Lou can do that. Are you on meds for anxiety, sleep apnea, diabetes, or other health glitches and just want the best rate possible without a lot of hassles? Big Lou can do that. To find the most affordable term life coverage options for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Big Lou does term life insurance better than anyone else on the radio, and he may be able to get you $1 million to $4 million of term life coverage with no exam. For the best term life insurance deals in America, call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966. Remember, Big Lou is like you. Once a week, he can do that too. Call 800-200-1966 or visit biglou.com.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
From city streets to political beats, you're driving it home with Patti Vasquez. Your progressive talk fuels the ride.
We're so glad that you're along for the ride tonight. On the line with us is Nathan Taylor of the Election Truth Alliance. We've been talking about some of the suspicious voting activity during the 2024 election. And you were about to tell us, because you're going county to county in areas where you see where the math isn't mathing, and you just were leaving us hanging, because I made you, about how Democrats are kind of throwing up some resistance and roadblocks. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we've actually reached out. A majority of these swing states we've found concerns in, they have pretty strong Democratic governments. So we've actually reached out to, for example, some of the leaders of the Democratic Party in these states, and even some of the Democratic governors and secretaries of state. And what we're finding, and this is why it's a little frustrating, is we're finding that all across the U.S. in places that are using these tabulation machines and places that our data is showing concerns of potential vote manipulation, we're finding that it's almost always negatively impacting the Democratic Party and third-party voters. And so we've been reaching out to these Democratic parties that could have been impacted, could have lost races in some of these states. And we don't talk about this a lot yet, but not only are we seeing impacts at the presidential race, in some of these swing states, we're seeing it down ballot as well. And just not at a significant amount compared to the presidential. Presidential seems heavily focused. Some of these lower down ballot races are still concerning, but almost cranked down a little bit. And their response is almost always, if they do talk to us, we've at one point, for example, Pennsylvania, we reached out to the Pennsylvania Secretary of the Commonwealth on 2 different occasions. We sent them our entire report, our entire analysis, saying, hey, here's exactly what we think is going on. Here's the scale of impact. Could have changed the outcome of the presidential election in Pennsylvania. And they have told us, not only are we incorrect, but, our concerns are unfounded. The elections are free, fair, safe, secure. And they cite 7 different reasons why. And then we followed up in a response, thanking them for their response, sent them a hand-by-hand response to everything that they cited, saying the systems are tested before the election. We're starting to find that some counties actually did not test their systems before the election. We're finding all of these issues, and they denied us twice. And that's really why it's a little frustrating now, is this doesn't have to be a big deal. All we want to do is do some forensic audits, which those are very common anytime you're doing something of this scale or nature. Like, you do it for banking, you do it for finances. Why are we so afraid to just do audits of our elections?
I suspect it's because they think it makes us look like MAGA. Is my suspicion that we don't want to peddle in the sort of conspiracy area, even though, as you've mentioned, you have evidence, you have data to show them, and that's just not enough for them. Lady B, you want to use your mic? Oh, I thought Lady B want to chime in. I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's anything any response you've gotten from the people you've talked to, but I suspect that's one element of it, or it's a whole let's move on, we don't want to be like them sort of attitude.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a kind of a blanket order top down saying, hey, we're not going to have these conversations, let's look forward. But the problem is, and this is what we keep highlighting, is that if the 24 election was compromised and the systems that we're using were being used to manipulate votes, you're going to use the same systems in the midterms.
Right.
And it's not like we're asking to do anything crazy. We just want to investigate. And there was a similar investigation in 2020 in Arizona, where cyber ninjas went in and they didn't find any credible evidence of election fraud benefiting the winning candidate of the 2020 election. And where's the people's, second look this time around? Because it's not about parties. It's not about politics. It's about people and making sure people's votes are being counted correctly. And that should be more important than anyone's perception of, are we looking like them? It's bigger than us.
I find it hard to believe that you can't convince these folks because you have a very soothing voice. I just want to put that out there right now. By the way, there's a listener that says, let's see, is it because statistical analysis still needs means, motive, and opportunity before the money people will get to spending?
I would say means, motive, and opportunity are well met in this situation. Yeah. I'm not personally really able to speak about that at full, but we have had multiple people highlight the means, the motive, and the opportunity because, for example, we know what the means are. There was compromises of these systems going back to 2020 and 2022 where people were put in prison because they actually went into these voting locations and gave access to people who compromised the images of the systems. And, for example, this happened in Colorado, I believe in Mesa County. Tina Peters was, put in prison because she helped compromise election security in one of her locations. We've seen this time and time again across multiple places just after the 2020 election. So there's your means if you know how these systems work. I mean, the motive, I think, is simple. This is the greatest heist in American history if you pull this off. Manipulating an election, why would you, we know what the results are of that. That's a huge opportunity. And then I think everything else speaks for itself.
I agree. Oh, man. What would be, because we've never seen this happen at the presidential level, have there been audits of election results that have reversed an election? I think that's what's on everyone's mind is what's the possible outcome of showing there was voting manipulation?
Yes. So as of our current knowledge, nothing on this scale has ever happened before. Generally speaking, once the results are certified, it's very difficult, near impossible to change, who was elected, who was put in office.
Right.
There are examples of finding problems in the U.S. in down ballot races or county races where they did find problems and they annulled the election and reran it and did it again. But that was before certification. So you almost have to catch this before you certify the results. And really, I think we don't have anything in writing for the U.S. where if there is proof that the elections were compromised and the current administration did not actually win the elections, legally speaking, there's not an immediate course of action that we can point to. Instead, what we highlight is, first, we need to know, even if we can't do anything about it right now, because, as I said, the midterms are coming up. We need to make sure that this is America. Our democracy should matter. If our elections are being messed with, we need to know just so that we can at least be aware of that and start planning and taking action from there. But there are legal remedies. For example, every state has the authority to conduct their own elections, and their secretaries of state and their attorney generals have a lot of power in how those elections should be ran. And if it's found that those elections were compromised, they're allowed to launch an investigation. They're allowed to conduct audits and recounts to know the impact and the scale. And as I said, that's the simple first step. Let's investigate. Let's find out how deep this goes. And then if it's tied to the tabulators like we're highlighting it could be and we're afraid it could be, we can't use those systems in the midterms if they're not going to be addressed.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I think that I just wish that those who, as you mentioned, it's Democrats that are pushing back. Do you have any suggestions? Should people be calling and writing to certain folks to say, look, we want to make sure that the 2026 election is safe. Fine. If you want to say that it's done and dusted, this guy, the results are what they are, but let's make sure. Is there anything we can do?
I would say at this point, yes, absolutely. As we're going into these legal actions here in the near future, in the next couple weeks, I think that is the perfect opportunity for everyone to begin reaching out directly to their state governments again. We did have like a week of action a couple months ago for Pennsylvania, for example, where we had thousands of people call into the Secretary of the Commonwealth office, and they were telling us that they were getting swamped. I would say let's begin by everyone kind of needs proof up front. So first step is, yes, reach out now. People can call their secretaries of state, call their election commission. But I think it's going to be the most impactful when the ETA puts forward their first litigation, where we show not only statistical concerns, but we pull data out of the counties themselves, showing problems with these machines, showing problems that may point to very concerning evidence of vote manipulation, changing votes from one candidate to the other. So I think that is the wave that, once people jump on that, I hope that we'll be able to break through then and get the level of attention, notice, and action that we think this deserves.
I really appreciate the work that you're all doing. Again, folks, you can go to electiontruthalliance.org. We've been talking to Nathan Taylor of the Election Truth Alliance. That's electiontruthalliance.org. And we'll be watching the work that you're doing, and we look forward to having you back, and hopefully with some more developments that are moving in the right direction with protecting our election in 2026.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Anytime, my friend. Take care. Have a good night. Let's take a break here. When we come back, more conversation. This is a lot today. We're going to talk to Jen Golbeck, professor, psychologist, and an expert in the far-right online extremism, AI, and so many bad things online. More after this. You guys can call and text, by the way, if you have any questions or comments. 773-763-9278. That's Credo Mobile phone and text line. Credo Mobile, better for the planet and for people. And right now, you have a 25% discount available to you if you type in WCPT 25, and that's for 25% off 2 years at Credo Mobile. More in a moment.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Clear skies tonight with a low temperature of 58 degrees and light southwest winds. On Wednesday, we'll see lots of sun with a high temperature of 76 and southwest winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Thursday, chance of thunderstorms with a high temperature of 74 degrees. Friday, sunny with a high temperature of 68. Saturday, sunshine, high temperature of 71. And for Sunday, lots of sun with a high of 74. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 73.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. During the Civil War, 11% of the Confederate Army was made up of enslaved men forced to join. One of these men was Robert Smalls. Smalls was a deckhand on the Confederate supply ship known as the Planter. During his time, Smalls learned as much as he could about navigating the ship so he and others could escape. And on May 13th of 1862, while officers were sleeping, Smalls, along with 16 others, took the Planter out of the Charleston harbor, navigating through all 5 checkpoints while heading to open waters looking for the Union blockade. Smalls raised a white flag of surrender, letting Union soldiers board the ship, giving them guns, ammo, and documents about planned Confederate attacks. Being a wealth of information, Smalls was given the role of the Union Navy captain. Stories like Smalls are one of the many factors convincing President Lincoln to allow free African Americans to serve in the Union Army. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Hey, before I bring out our next guest, I want to mention something. I spoke to an alderman from City Hall today because I have a question that's been, I think, on everyone's mind in regards to ICE agents and police cooperation. As I mentioned earlier, What's Your Scroll story? I saw a situation where police were called by ICE in order to help them and not the person that was being basically abducted. In Chicago, if you see someone being taken by masked people who aren't properly identified, you can call the Chicago Police Department and they will they should demand identification and the reason for the activity. So I just want to let folks know that that's the policy right now of CPD. And to that, let's talk to Jen Golbeck, who's professor, psychologist, and an expert in the far right online extremism, AI, and bad things on the internet. We talked about some terrifying things last time, so I don't know how this is going to go, Professor. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, and it'll probably go the same as last time, unfortunately.
God. Yeah, it's escalating. First of all, as I ask everyone, listeners and guests alike, are you taking care of yourself, and in part, are you also making sure you hydrate to that point?
I'm hydrating the heck out of myself. Yes. Doing my best over here.
I appreciate that. Excellent. Okay. So let's start with what's been on our minds here in Chicago, which is the possibility of military occupation, which online I'm seeing people are just chomping at the bit for tanks to be rolling down Michigan Avenue. What are you seeing in regards to the thirst to just overtake Chicago? We seem to be a big target.
Yeah, for sure. I split my time between Florida and Washington, D.C., and, obviously, we're dealing with this in D.C. right now. Though, on the other hand, we're a little more used to it than the rest of the country because we have, multiple police forces, like the Capitol Police, like the Washington City Metro Police, Park Police. So there's always, a lot of police and, military around just because of the part of the country that we are in. It's going to be really different for every place else. And, the hardcore MAGA followers, which is what I spend a lot of my time studying, what they're posting, they are really thirsty for military, not just military occupation of blue cities, but military occupation and suppression of the population. They are excited about it. They want to see violence from the military against anyone who sort of dares to defy Donald Trump. Now, that's not necessarily what the administration has planned, but there certainly is an appetite for that among the sort of farther end of the right.
Well, I'm just going to jump right to it because my biggest fear is I have so many. There's not a biggest. My big concern is that they are chomping at the bit or they're waiting for someone to lash out at these military personnel in order for them to shoot to kill and then call for martial law, suspend habeas corpus and our courts and leading into 2026 and the election. And and it seems as though and then to that, I'm just worried that somebody else from inside, from the far right or MAGA will be the one that instigates it under the guise of, oh, they started it. That was a lot. Hi.
Yes, I think that is a reasonable thing to be afraid of, and an interesting kind of development in that space that we saw in the last week here in D.C., where we do have lots of military and, federal law enforcement around now everywhere. I mean, they're incredibly present. There's checkpoints in, major spots that people are going. D.C. has fairly strict gun laws as a city under home rule. And Trump put out a statement this last week saying, directing the Department of Justice not to file any charges against people who were open carrying in D.C. So if you were a citizen you take your own personal rifle or shotgun out into the street carrying it openly, normally you would be arrested for that in D.C., and Trump gave this instruction to not prosecute on that. Now, why would he do that if he's put all of this military in the streets? Everybody on the sort of like progressive side of D.C., which is the vast majority of the city, is like, oh, this is bait, right? This is bait to get us out there to cause something to happen. So there's an excuse, for military and law enforcement to respond to it. I think it's an important worry, but also a hard one to respond to, right? That, like, they know people are going to come out. And, we know if he sends the National Guard to Chicago that there's going to be this huge and reasonable protest response against that. But what do you do, right? Like, do you show up unarmed, which is the legal thing to do and the sort of de-escalating thing to do, but knowing that you're outnumbered, that you're overpowered, or, does somebody show up and like try to make a show of this and then end up, with things escalating in a way far beyond just what would happen, that night or that week?
Yeah, that's and like even when I protest here, like especially in areas of downtown Chicago where there's high rises and things like that, I'm like I feel like a sitting duck sometimes walking down these caverns of high rises with windows, and but that's neither here nor there, folks. We have to be heard and speak out. But I do want to go back because it caught me because you said at the beginning that the military is coming. You're pretty certain that he's going to be deploying because I think there's 19 cities that they're targeting. Is that right?
I think that's right. And, they say they don't have any plans yet, but just sort of like having followed the way that he talks about this and the way that he has consistently tried, since he took office this time to push these boundaries, I would be shocked if we don't see the National Guard deployed in Chicago. I was out in L.A. when he did it there for the protest, and now he's trying it in D.C. I don't have any special information on that. I know. But it sure seems to me like it's coming, and I'd be really surprised if it didn't. To the point where, like, I've made, plans with my, husband and my friends, like, okay, like when they go to Chicago, I'm going to be on a plane to also go. So I'm making plans for it.
Oh, when are you coming to Chicago? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to.
Whenever the National Guard comes.
Oh,
whenever
really?
the National Guard comes, I'll be there. Yes.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, thank you for that, because it's a lot of Chicagoans are posting videos of their neighborhoods, and people, whether it's Pilsen to Rogers Park to Lawndale to I haven't put mine up from Jefferson Park yet, but I mean, especially how beautiful the weather is and people in the parks, and my friend Joey Villagomez, you can see people coming out of churches and just how gorgeous the city is. And do we have our problems like any urban area? We certainly do, but we're moving in the right direction and have been investing in people. So it has nothing to do with the crime. It's simply that we are a democratic city, a blue city. It's absolutely crazy. And are you noticing? I mean, like, does there seem like an acceleration in the thirst for this? Because it feels that way on my page, and maybe it's because I'm getting more followers, both supportive and negative. Are you seeing this? Like, I don't know how to describe it. What are you getting in regards to, like, bots, AI generated responses? Because I feel like I'm getting the same response over and over again to my posts.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a few things going on there. One is that absolutely, there's such a bot presence now. And like on one hand, we've seen so much bot presence around kind of the rise of MAGA for the last decade. But now we've got ChatGPT and large language models and generative AI that power these things in a way that, like, it's very hard to actually separate them from real people, where like the Russian bots of 2016, like you could totally tell what they were. So yeah, there is definitely like more bot activity around this, but also like among Trump's followers, there is real excitement for this. Trump said in the Oval Office today, some people call me a dictator, but this isn't an exact quote because I'm not remembering it right, but basically some people call me a dictator, but once I take care of the crime, maybe that's what they want.
Yeah.
Really like call themselves like, yeah, I'm acting like a dictator, but like that's going to make people happy because I'm going to take care of these problems. And a lot of his followers like are fine with this, right?
Sure.
A lot of these like hardcore MAGA supporters are fine with it. And so they are very excited that he seems to have kind of gotten away with doing this in D.C., which again is, because, D.C. isn't a state. It's not in a state. It's kind of controlled by the federal government. He's got powers there that he doesn't have in Chicago and any of these other democratically run cities. But they are excited for him to do it and excited for the violence against, people who aren't supporters of Trump. It's not even like Democrats or progressive, right? It's like anybody who doesn't support Trump, they want to see violence against them. And so I think they think he's now maybe going to get away with it. And so we do see them being emboldened and louder about it.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you have time to stay with us for another segment, my friend?
I do.
Excellent. We're talking to Professor Jen Golbeck. She's a psychologist and an expert in the far right, online extremism, AI, and all the horrible, terrible, frightening things. I get enough of what I go through. I can't imagine what it's like to have this as my job. Okay. But thank you for doing it. Thank you for your service. Let's take a break here. We'll come back in just a moment. WCPT 820, KKNW, and KTNF.
Tom Hartman.
Autocrats generally, particularly those autocrats who have narcissistic personality disorder and are sociopaths, as is, in my opinion, Trump, typically do not tolerate high-profile people around them. They want to be the star of the show, and that's certainly been the history of Donald Trump. The only people that he will tolerate around him are people who, when he says, kiss my ass, they fall to their knees.
The Tom Hartman Radio Program. Weekdays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Being blind doesn't always look how others may think.
Retinitis pigmentosa aimed to overwhelm my family.
It tried to cut me down. I know where to find support and where I can be seen.
Innovative research, educational resources, supportive community. The Foundation Fighting Blindness is leading the charge in finding treatments and cures for blinding diseases. Learn more at fightingblindness.org. A public service message from the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because feeling full can sound like this.
How did the interview go? I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
And like this.
Mom, I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/act now. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
Welcome back to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
And we are having a conversation with Jen Golbeck, professor, psychologist, and an expert on the far right, online extremism, AI, and bad things on the internet. And when we spoke last time, we talked a lot about conspiracy theories, a lot of a little bit about 4chan and all these folks that there's so many different components to the sort of momentum of these lies that take hold. And I wanted to ask about the Epstein situation, because this seemed to drive a lot of them them, whether it was January 6th or to vote, because, Democrats are all pedophiles and they're running these children trafficking rings. Like, that was kind of the genesis behind a lot of this movement, wasn't it?
It was, it allowed them to feel like they were deeply morally in the right because they were on the side of protecting children from sex trafficking, even though, some of that was made up, not the Epstein stuff, but some of the really wild conspiracy theories that underlie, like QAnon and Pizzagate. And when, there was this big call to release the Epstein files, and of course, this remains in the mainstream news. And a lot of the MAGA faithful were really upset about this, a month or so ago when Trump kind of wasn't releasing everything. Pam Bondi said those files were on her desk, and then she's like, there actually aren't any. And I thought maybe we were at a moment where some of them would turn against him, but I was wrong. They have just brushed it aside, and they aren't talking about it anymore.
Yeah, and they're all in on this Maxwell testimony. They're like, we read the interview, and it's like she's convicted. She was one of the people that was luring girls into the trafficking scheme and leading them to be raped and assaulted. And so they're like, oh yeah, if she said so. And didn't she also say essentially that Epstein was a pretty good guy too? Like, he wasn't.
That's right. And I mean, she got herself into this much better situation of incarceration by doing these interviews over, the last few weeks. And it's not super surprising to me that she would say, oh, Trump, who has said he might pardon me, I never saw him do anything wrong. And maybe she didn't. We certainly don't know, but I don't know if there's a pardon hanging over your head and you're being moved to better facilities if you're going to be super honest. We do know that some of what she said in these interviews is wrong and contradicted by the evidence, and particularly that she said she didn't recruit anyone from Mar-a-Lago to come work for Epstein. Trump himself said this happened. We have evidence that this happened. She said she never did it. So we know that she has lied at least in part in this testimony, and I think it's just very hard to lend any credence one way or another to what she said in the last few weeks.
Okay, so as a psychologist, how is it because they have sort of wrapped themselves so tightly with this identity of it's about the children and Democrats are pedophiles and all these elements? I mean, they're not shakeable on any of this, are they?
Generally not on the conspiracy theory part. If you went and talked to them, and, we see this stuff coming back up over and over. They're very stuck on litigating Hillary Clinton, about calling for public executions of people who were involved with Epstein. But now that, Trump is in there maybe in a way deeper than what they thought, their identity is also tied up in him as this great savior. And so that's psychologically, it's very hard to hold those contradictory issues in your head, right? This idea that we want to save the children and we want to execute everybody who is responsible for their trafficking. And also Trump might be in there, but he is this great guy, and my identity is tied up in him being this great leader. And so what do you do when you have all that cognitive dissonance? What you do is ignore it. Right. I'm not even going to think about that. It's not a thing. And if it were really forced to the foreground, if we got some very clear evidence about, Trump doing something on Epstein Island that he said he didn't do, they'd find an excuse or a conspiracy theory to explain it away. Because it's easier to believe in a conspiracy theory than the truth when your identity is threatened by the truth. Yeah,
that's my sense of things. As a lot of folks talking about possible health concerns. Do they get shaken? I mean, what do you imagine, or what would you speculate would be the result should he pass away in office to this cult?
I have been thinking a lot about this lately. I'm surrounded by a lot of people who don't think Trump has a lot of time left. I am not an expert on this, and no. I don't know that they are. Who knows, right? But I certainly hear this speculation, man, with the stuff that we're seeing, we don't think he's going to make it through the next 4 years. What is going to happen to MAGA if he goes away? They are trying to embrace J.D. Vance, and okay. J.D. Vance sure is trying to win them over, but he does not have the charisma that Trump does. He is, not that Trump is consistent with his ideas, right? He changes positions all the time, and they change with him. J.D. Vance also has changed his positions wildly, but are they going to swing with him? I don't think so. I don't think he commands that kind of loyalty, and frankly, I don't think he has the kind of ruthlessness that Trump does. Trump is willing to go out there and just ruin people, and and will do it to people who have turned against him. I don't know that J.D. Vance is willing to go as far as Trump is, and that's the thing that the MAGA people really like about Trump, that
right.
He'll go really extreme.
I agree.
So I think if we lose Trump, I think there is some crumbling of this movement, right? Some people are going to stay loyal to the movement, but I think enough of them leave because Trump is really the thing that drew them in. But then what comes next? Who knows, right? We have broken whatever the mold was that we were living in.
Yes. Yeah, that's for sure.
Who knows?
We do have a listener who has a question. This is Paul from Seattle. You're on with Professor Golbeck. Hey, Paul, what's on your mind?
Yeah, hi. I wanted to ask a question about the cognitive dissonance. I see it a little bit differently with MAGA. I don't think that they so much want to save the children, but Trump might be involved in it too. I think that the save the children is what they use to stoke their rage. And then when they think that Trump might be part of that, that's the cognitive dissonance, and that quells their rage to some degree. And so they have to grasp at straws to find something to keep it stoked. You have to throw something in the fire. Because what this whole movement is based on is rage. And I wrote a paper in graduate school on anger. And one of the things that I learned about it is that one of the reasons people get angry is because it feels good. It makes them feel alive. You see? And this is what makes them feel alive. If they didn't feel angry, they wouldn't care about politics. They have to reach a certain threshold of anger to participate in politics. Otherwise, they'll just go back to the bar in the bowling alley and forget about it because they never really cared about policies to begin with.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. What do you think, Professor?
Yeah, I mean, he makes a really good point there in a few different ways. And Paul certainly knows all this if he has, worked on this in grad school, but just to sort of dig a little bit deeper into what he said. Anger is one of these things in psychology that we call a masking emotion. Anger is not really a core emotion. It's emotion that you feel to feel empowered on top of something else. So I cry embarrassingly at work a lot of the time if I get frustrated, if I feel like somebody talked down to me, if I feel like the system's not working, I cry. That's not very empowering. It's also super embarrassing. But if I got angry about it, anger is really empowering, right? So people, when they feel disempowered, whether it's they feel humiliated or disrespected or sad, if they don't want to feel that, will sometimes go to anger. And I think Paul is right. that is a huge part of MAGA. And that sort of speaks to a bigger thing that I think is really important and explains a lot of what's going on here, which is that MAGA is a movement that exists best when it's not in power. They want to be opposed to the system in power, right? And you think about Trump, somebody else. And so they have a hard time. They had a hard time from 2016 to 2020, and you even hear them slip now when they talk about COVID, and they blame Biden for policies that Trump enacted in 2020 because he was the president. They forget that, right, because they exist opposed to a system. So I think this is part of why we're seeing this really extreme kind of action now from Trump and much more support for much more extreme stuff from MAGA, is that now that they're in power, well, they're not the victims anymore, right? The system is not oppressing, and they are the system. So now, what do you do if that's your mindset? Well, then you're going to, utterly stomp down anyone who, dared oppose you.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
And I think that's why we see this. Yeah.
Man, it's really been a pleasure talking to you. There's so many things I want to talk about. We look forward to having you back very soon. Please take care of yourself. I don't know if you also meditate or go for walks in nature, but pace yourself, please, my friend.
I hope it'll be happier next time. I'm here anytime you want.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think we both know how that's going to go. Be well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. Bye. Thank you to our listeners everywhere you're listening and tuning in. Thank you, Lady B. Love you. Bye, everyone. Be well. Thank you so much.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
We've got a fight in Texas right now to protect our constituents. And the best way we can do that right now is get this thing in the federal court as soon as possible, try to get it overturned or blocked.
That's Texas State Representative Chris Turner speaking to WCPT's Richard Chu about the redistricting plan Texas Republicans have now passed through the state legislature. The new map was designed to give Republicans 5 additional congressional seats in a state already heavily gerrymandered in the GOP's favor.
I'm not a lawyer, so I wouldn't try to put odds on it, but I will say, talking with voting rights experts who, have a lot of experience in this area of the law, they believe to a person this is a slam dunk case of intentional racial discrimination that's illegal under the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution. And despite the Voting Rights Act having been weakened by the U.S. Supreme Court, we still have a Voting Rights Act.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.